Today's topic is, did Jesus rise from the dead? And first, of course, that's a miracle, and we have to look at what a miracle is. So we define miracle as an event that is extraordinary and religiously significant, and the only explanation is direct intervention by God. Because we can't just call it an extraordinary event, because rocks falling from the sky that's an extraordinary event. But it can be explained through science, because it could be a meteor that's breaking up in the atmosphere. Chuck, can you actually close that door?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. And then it has to be religiously significant. So something like maybe Friday in Lent, if fish were falling from the sky, now that would be a religiously significant event. Unless somebody was dropping them outside of a window, then that wouldn't be a miracle, because that's not extraordinary. But that's how we define miracles. And the question that they bring up in the book is, are miracles possible? And here's a couple answers to, are miracles possible? There's a couple possibilities. The one we're going to focus on more is if miracles actually happen. If miracles actually happen throughout the world, then they are possible. But of course, the main miracle of Christianity is the resurrection. That's the miracle that really separates Christianity from other religions. When you have, it's something that the Christians say actually did happen. It's not supposed to be a metaphor for a resurrection of faith. It's supposed to be a bodily resurrection of the first century man, Jesus of Nazareth. So, as St. Paul says, if Christ has not been raised, then empty is our preaching, and empty too your faith. We are false witnesses if there was no resurrection. And then, so it's not merely a parable, but it is an actual historical event that people are saying. And quite frankly, as we talked about last week, the resurrection really distinguishes Jesus from other religious founders. And it's something that really puts Jesus above those other religious founders, because no other religious founder rose from the dead, or if they did, then of course we have to investigate it. And that's what we're doing tonight about Jesus. Did he rise from the dead? So we're going to talk about the resurrection, and you can't really prove that Jesus rose from the dead, but what you can do is you can say that you have evidence, and the only explanation for the evidence is that Jesus did indeed rise from the dead. And there are certain possibilities that we have here. So here are the possibilities, and Jesus either died or he didn't die. And you just follow these lines and you get to the conclusion. So if Jesus rose from the dead, you have Christianity as it claims that Jesus did, in fact, rise from the dead. However, if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, the apostles, they went around proclaiming that Jesus did rise from the dead. So they were either actively deceiving the masses, which is they were the deceivers, so it was a conspiracy theory, or they were deceived themselves, which they were hallucinating, or they were just making up a myth. Alright, so what a lot of apologists do is they start with all these theories, they put them all out on the board, and then they go one by one to eliminate the, I guess, impossible, the unlikely scenarios. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're just going to talk about these briefly. So the swoon theory, that's one where Jesus didn't die. So somehow he was crucified, he was still living when they took him down from the cross, and then they buried him, and then 2 days later he unraveled the burial cloths, pushed the rock, got away from the Roman guards, and ran away, and somehow ran into his disciples. It doesn't sound like a very good theory, and so that's generally something that people write off right away, and that's what they said in the book. Can you hold it till discussion? Yeah, thank you. And then the second part is the conspiracy theory. So the apostles were deceived. That's another theory that they have. They were the deceivers. So the typical argument for that is the apostles stole the body. They went to the tomb and then they stole the body, and then they proclaimed that Jesus had risen from the grave. The problem with that is, why would they steal a body and then actively deceive the masses knowing that they had taken the body away. It doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when you look at what ended up happening to them. A lot of them ended up getting tortured or crucified. Doesn't sound like a very good motive to start making